Why did they change the name of Gears of War to Gears? We've been talking about this now for a little while, guys. And I want to continue talking about it because it's something that I think we definitely need to talk about. And I want to get your guys' feedback and thoughts about this. Why did the Coalition and Xbox change the name of Gears of War to Gears moving forward? Let's talk about it. Why it's called Gears 5 and not Gears of War 5. And this, I want to talk about this even for moving forward. I think this is really, really important that we talk about. So Microsoft, and this is from 2018, guys, but I want to talk about it. Microsoft announced a fifth Gears of War game on its E3 2018 stage, but it's not called Gears of War 5. Microsoft announced the title as Gears 5, and that was no mistake. Speaking to GameSpot, Xbox marketing boss Aaron Greenberg said the Gears 5 title is cleaner, not to mention that people were already cutting out the of war part of the title for years already, so it was a natural change. People shorthanded it Gears anyway, Greenberg said. It's a cleaner look for the brand and the line. Of course, the franchise is still Gears of War. By the way, guys, this is coming to us from GameSpot. Eddie Makic, who wrote this article. Greenberg also joked that Microsoft dropped of war from the title of the game to help save people time when posting about the game on social media. To save you room on Twitter, that was the whole idea, Greenberg said. Gears 5 is the first entry in the series with a female playable lead. The game tells the story of Kate Diaz, who was first introduced in Gears of War 4. But I want to talk about, the of war, and they kind of joked about it and things of that nature. And Screen Rant brought this up as well. Zach Wojnar, they did an exclusive with Gears 5 creative director Rod Ferguson explaining how he finally got the Gears of War franchise rebranded in 2019 for several new games. And he got it rebranded, so we can thank Rod Ferguson for that. But look, before we even move on with this, I have said multiple times that obviously the title doesn't necessarily matter in terms of like if a game is good or not, but Gears of War 5 is what it should have been called. And it should have been called Gears of War 5 from the beginning. Like in every Gears title moving forward, it should be Gears of War. It's not Gears. That's like saying, to me at least, do people in the Call of Duty community call the game Call of Duty, or do they call it COD? Because I would argue a lot of people just call it COD. They don't call it Call of Duty. And so COD is for short. So it's like Infinity Ward, Treyarch, and Activision saying, we're going to call the new Call of Duty not Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. We're going to call it COD Modern Warfare 2, just to make it easier for you on social media or whatever it may be. I don't like that at all. And that, no, I don't think anyone, I mean, there may be some people who would like it, but I just think that it is actually, in my opinion, I think a bad thing from a legacy perspective. I mean, calling it Gears instead of Gears of War, like we can call it Gears and we're going to continue calling it Gears, but Gears of War is the title of the franchise. It's not Gears. Like I said, we as a community can continue calling it Gears. I just think that it was a massive mistake moving away from Gears of War from what, and calling it Gears. And then, of course, there's rumor that Gears 6 is going to be the next one. There's also Rod Ferguson was the studio head at the Coalition who said that Gears 6, Gears 7, as well as a Gears of War movie were all confirmed. Now, that was before he left the Coalition to go to Activision Blizzard to start working on Diablo, which I do think we're going to get a Gears 6 as well as a Gears 7 and a Gears of War movie, but I just don't like that they changed and rebranded from Gears of War to Gears. So, the franchise formerly known as Gears of War is getting a modern revamp in 2019 with Gears 5. While the Coalition is attempting to do something unexpected and different with the gameplay of Gears 5, it's also rebranding the IP by removing the of war to create a quicker, punchier title across its product line. It's not a continuity reboot or anything dramatic, or potentially alienating to longtime fans, but it is an indication that things may be a bit different now. The Gears of War series has been around since 2006, and the games have sold millions of copies over the years. 2019, the series is attempting to become bigger than ever before, and the latest in the Xbox and PC exclusive franchise brings big changes to the core concept of Gears, including the title. So it came as a surprise when the latest game in the series was announced as Gears 5, considerably shortening the title from its predecessors. While visiting the offices of the Coalition, Screen Rant's Rob Keyes reconnected with Rod Ferguson, who was, of course, studio head and creative director for Gears 5, about how he got the title change he wanted initially with Gears 4, and whether the series will remain shortened to just Gears moving forward. So, here we go. For the title of the game, you dropped the of War, and that's something you wanted to do previously. And yes, guys, he wanted to do this with Gears of War 4, which I thought was a massive mistake from the beginning. I didn't like it. Maybe they wanted to change it because of God of War. They wanted to kind of move away from that GOW thing, obviously kind of comparisons to God of War. But I feel like let them do that. Don't do that with this franchise that's been around since 2006. I just think it was such a disservice to the title and legacy of Gears of War. So, is that the standard going forward for this series? He goes, I think so. We wanted to make sure that the franchise stayed Gears of War because we have comic books and the novel and movie and other things. We still wanted to be Gears of War, but I was trying to find a way to just modernize it because, we're Gears of War, the next generation, so I wanted it to feel a bit different. And that's exactly what, part of why I felt like he was trying to change it was because they wanted to be the next generation of Gears and Gears of War as a whole. Indeed, Gears 5 follows up the events of Gears of War 4, which itself is set 25 years after the end of the original Gears of War trilogy. So I tried to do it with Gears 4 with the E3 poster that has the missing JD head and says Gears 4 on it without the Gears of War as my test. And then marketing went, nah, we're going to keep it. We get to 5 and then I make my case again and I'm starting to win. Then we started talking about Gears Pop and Gears Tactics, and it was really clear that as a family, it makes more sense. And here's the thing though, guys. We can see that I'm not saying that the failure of Gears 5 was because of the name Gears 5. But I definitely think that if we look at the numbers, right? If you go to Twitch, you look at how many people follow Gears of War 4, how many people follow Gears 5. I know that's not like the greatest indication, but it's a pretty staggering number how many more people follow Gears of War 4 than Gears 5. And it was really clear because having to go Gears of War Pop and Gears of War Tactics is a mouthful. Having Gears 5, Gears Pop, Gears Tactics, and all part of the Gears of War family, that felt really good. And that's how we're moving forward. And look, I don't care if they did it with Gears Pop or maybe even Gears Tactics, but the main entries in the Gears of War franchise should be Gears of War, period. I don't think that it should be Gears. Let me know what you guys think about that, though. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts about it. Perhaps were it not for the spin-off titles like Gears Pop and Gears Tactics, this series would still keep the old Gears of War moniker. As it stands, Gears 5 marks the start of a new era for the franchise and certainly the developer who are making the franchise their own in Gears 5, but it's not a reboot or anything so dramatic. After all, most fans of the series have probably dropped the of War in common conversation for around a decade by now. More than anything, the new title is a symbolic fresh coat of paint for the long-running series. And I get that. I get like it's a fresh start, but still, like, I just think, like, they kind of wanted to be different, but I just don't, to me at least, I just think it's a disservice to the legacy of Gears of War, because it's Gears of War, guys. It's not, we can call it Gears, but it's Gears of War. So, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about it. I call it Gears. I call it Gears of War, when I'm talking to some of my friends that haven't heard of really or aren't super familiar with Gears of War. I call it Gears of War. I don't call it Gears because then they're like, well, what are you talking about? Gears of War, it's like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. They may not play it all the time or anything of that nature. That's just my thought on it, but I would love to hear your guys' thoughts about it. Should they go back to Gears of War when they make Gears of War 6, or should it be called Gear 6? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And for more Gears of War 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.